started.
Hi, everyone. Yep.
We're good to go, Diane, anytime.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for choosing to take your lunch hour today to meet with us to talk a little bit about Leadership Waterloo Region. What we're going to do is just talk about the program, what it looks like. You're going to have the opportunity to meet some alumni, to speak with some current class members, and to ask questions. So we're actually going to do some breakout rooms so that you'll have the opportunity to talk with current class members and have all of your questions answered. So Bethan is going to be moving on the PowerPoint for me, so thank you. So this is our session today. We want to make sure that any questions you may have are answered, and this is the place to do it because you're going to get so many different perspectives. So as we go through some housekeeping items, we're going to ask that you keep your audio on mute. You will be able to unmute that for the breakout sessions, and when we have the chance to ask questions, of course you can unmute yourself to ask a question. In the top right hand corner you can choose your view, so either speaker versus gallery, and we encourage people, if you want to see how people are doing, keep your camera on. Please at any time use the chat feature at the bottom to ask questions. We will answer questions as we go, and you'll also have the opportunity in the breakout rooms. Stick around to the end because that's usually when most of the questions, we make sure they're all answered. We talked about recording this session, and we will be following up with an email. So you'll have all the registration information, all the dates and everything. So you can take notes today, but you don't furiously have to write everything down. So I'm going to turn it over to Bethan for our virtual convening principles.
Thanks, Diane. So Leadership Waterloo Region, like so many organizations, we had to change our approach pretty quickly to be able to continue to provide our programming. So it was important for us to pull together some virtual convening principles to guide how we would approach this unusual situation. So the first one is nobody signed up for this, not for sickness, not for physical distancing, and not for the additional stresses that are upon us all right now. Nobody signed up for having to facilitate things virtually and not for participating at home or for mastering new technologies. Our second one is we will remain human-centered. We're going to prioritize supporting each other as whole human beings. And we're going to prioritize sharing resources and communicating clearly, because in times like these, clear communication is so, so important. Our third principle is that we can and will continue our mission virtually. Shared experiences are no longer possible in person, and they make up a huge portion of what we do, but we are committed to creating emotionally engaging virtual spaces instead. And the fourth one is we will remain flexible and adjust to the situation that we're in. So nobody knows where this is going or for how long we're going to need to adapt, and for how far we're going to have to adapt. Everybody needs support and understanding in this unprecedented time. And in times of crisis like these, we have decided that we're going to lean on our strengths-based leadership of trust, compassion, stability, and hope. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Diane to talk a little bit about Leadership Waterloo Region.
Excellent, thank you. So I joined Leadership Waterloo Region in November 2018 as CEO, but I am a graduate of the class of 2002. So over the years, I've served on several committees, including Alumni Council, the Gala Committee. I've been in to facilitate in the core program, and been around sort of as a resource and someone who's really enjoyed the network opportunity that I've received and professional guidance throughout this journey. If I could just get Bethan to move on. So we've had an exciting year since I joined on board in November 2018. Bethan joined December, so we're a full new staff. And our board of directors has been working so hard to pivot the organization so that we remain relevant and we are addressing our community's greatest needs. So our mission is we encourage, empower, and equip current and future leaders to unleash positive change in their communities. And I can't say enough how true this is. We'll go through some of our stats about what our alumni are doing. but it is an incredible opportunity. Our vision is to build vibrant, resilient, and inclusive communities. And, you know, as we face COVID and whatever comes around the corner, we know this is more important than ever. We believe in enjoying the journey, pursuing diversity, pushing our limits, doing the right thing, challenging, connecting, and collaborating, making a difference every day, and diving deep. Next slide, please, Bethan. So 5 things, if I would tell you 5 things about us, we have more than 450 alumni who are currently serving on over 400 boards and committees in our communities. So this is our last survey, which was done a couple of years ago. So we are going to be doing a new survey, hopefully in the next few months. We have had to pivot when COVID hit. We said, what responsibility do we have to our community having access to this tremendous leadership group? So quite quickly, we turned around in March and developed the nonprofit leadership series. So to date, we've held 8 sessions. It's a free leadership series that's offered throughout the community to help people with different issues they've been facing, such as change management, government funding that's available for nonprofits, happiness, and how to manage your teams through mental health. So we've been pivoting and using those examples of what we've been asked to do. So all of our information is coming from the nonprofit sector as to what the needs are. We're responding. We work with the most amazing people. I have to think, I know most people will agree who's had anything to do with Leadership Waterloo Region. What's so special about Leadership Waterloo Region is the people that are involved. So we've worked with Jim Clemmer and Jackie Lauer, both on having program delivery, as well as being able to help us develop this new program. And we've also had more than 200 expert facilitators come into. So you can see it's not one person teaching the program. We bring the most appropriate people in, the people who are doing this work on a daily basis and really have a lot to contribute. I'm going to turn it over now to Tony Dennison. I've had the pleasure of knowing Tony for a very long time, since the 90s. And Tony is our vice chair of the board of directors, and he's a graduate of the class of 2001. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Diane. As Diane said, I'm a graduate of the class of 2001, which was the very first year of the program. And so I was asked just to talk about why I signed up and why I've stayed involved. So why I signed up, I was really just looking for the next step in my career, and I wanted to learn some more leadership skills. And I don't know if I didn't read the information well enough or what, but I didn't realize it had so much to do with community development and learning what's going on in the community. So it was a big surprise for me, and it became a very important experience in my life, and sort of and where I went from there. I learned a lot about Waterloo Region and how it works. And it was really a lot about, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm not sure I even would have signed up for it had I, but I was in it, and I went through it, and I built strong relationships, and I made great friends. And as an alumnus, I've become a part of a very cohesive group that has become an invaluable resource for me. It's really been incredible. And then why do I stay involved? Well, Leadership Waterloo Region really isn't a course or a program. It's really a launching pad into Waterloo Region, into the public sector, the private sector, and the not-for-profit. You learn so much more about all 3 of those things. It's really hard to overstate. And professionally, Leadership Waterloo Region is one of the most influential organizations that I've been involved with. The only other one is Rotary, and Rotary is a worldwide organization so it's really saying a lot. And how have I stayed involved? once you've gone through the program, I don't know how you could really. I don't know how you could not stay involved, because you become part of the alumni who you're recognized at events. You've got this network of people that you now know. But I stayed involved, largely as a fan of Leadership Waterloo Region. But I've done a lot of committee work. I'm on board for the second time now, and I'm the incoming chair in November. So just every minute that I spend with the organization is worthwhile. So that's my story.
Thank you, Tony. We're so lucky to have you. So Tony does give a lot of time, and we're so appreciative for that. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Caitlin Smith. So Caitlin's a graduate of the class of 2017 and has served on our selection committee, which you'll learn more about a little bit later, as well as the gala committee. So Caitlin, thank you.
Thanks, Diane, and thanks to Beth Ann for having me. It's really exciting to be here today. I love talking about Leadership Waterloo Region. So I joined, I'm part of the graduating class of 2017, and I got involved in Leadership Waterloo Region for a couple of different reasons. I learned a bit about it sort of in the community, and it was actually Tony who invited me along with his wife, Michelle, to attend one of the breakfasts and recommended me for the program. So thank you, Tony, for that. I truly enjoyed the program from start to finish. I love the leadership days. They're always inspiring, informative, and they stay with you, right? I think about the systems days, communication days, even getting involved in those days if that's still a part of it, but being part of the curriculum to develop some of those leadership days is a fun experience. And the whole, some of the topics that go throughout the whole year, like emotional intelligence, are just really important to learn about and experience. The group experience, I know that has changed since my class, but I think the principles are still there, and I'm still connected with my group members and my classmates, and I think that's a really special part of the program. In fact, I met with 2 of my group members separately just within the last couple of months for different opportunities. And then during this pandemic too, I realized how many of my classmates are actually serving on the front line. So police officers, firefighters, bylaw, infection control at Cambridge Memorial. Like it gave me a lot of pause to think about just how wonderful it was to learn about those positions and those parts of our community. And I think that's what's so unique about this program, is the intersection of all of those different sectors coming together. So in terms of what I learned, like I said, learning more about the community and that intersection, my own personal leadership style and using that. And like Tony said, you use those experiences from Leadership Waterloo Region every single day, not just at work, but in your personal life as well too. In terms of staying involved, I think there's lots of ways to give back. And again, like Tony said, it's impossible not to stay connected to this wonderful organization and the people within it. So I have helped on the annual gala, as Diane mentioned, and being a member of the selection committee this past year was lots of fun. And, just attending the sessions that are being offered, now and in the future, breakfasts and special events, and following Leadership Waterloo Region on social media is always great. There's excellent content. In terms of what Leadership Waterloo Region really means to me, it's really about helping others and staying connected. I think that's what this network does so well. And you're seeing that, and you're seeing it right now. Some of the alumni in key positions in our community helping through this tough time. And you need that network to have a strong community. So that's it.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was amazing. I always find it inspiring that people are really in touch. I know with my class of 2002, I see people quite regularly. I know I go to tag someone on Facebook and they're all there. So it's amazing to see that. So why are we all here? We're here to talk about the core program. So at a glance, we have 4 pillars to which we work through Leadership Waterloo Region. I'll just get Bethan to move on to that. So community understanding, relationship building, collaborative leadership, and community readiness. So this is how we write the program. This is how we evaluate the program. This is how we choose the facilitators and how we move forward. So it's important that the information that we bring into the program really ticks off most of those boxes. And it's important when we're planning that we're able to evaluate what we're doing on that. And that's something when you're in the program or attend any of our events, we ask for evaluations because we want to know how we're doing. So when we look at our leadership styles, when I speak about Leadership Waterloo Region, I tend to talk about it in 4 separate pieces, but if you can imagine, all of these pieces are intertwined. So leadership styles, what do you learn in the program? So I have a list here that I prepared for somebody to show them what we were doing this year. And we've covered risk management, governance, systems, innovation, restorative justice, diversity and inclusion, asset-based community development. We've looked at emotional intelligence, unconscious bias, volunteer management, truth and reconciliation, the Indigenous culture, wellness, followership, servancy, and collaboration. So you can see when you learn your leadership style, so first of all, you learn your values and how you lead. You're going to learn how you work with other people, and then all the details around leadership. So we spend time in every area. Also knowing that you could do a deep dive, you could do a whole year on followership. So we do as much as we can and then bring those learnings back into each of the sessions. The second part of what we really focus on is systems, because we all live and work within these systems. So how does government work? Who are the leaders in these systems? Who heads up healthcare? What does police services look like? So it's really important that we have time with systems leaders, with the mayors, with, just to have an understanding of how our community works. The third part is experiential. So we get out in the community. So this year we had a fantastic day where we took our class and they were able to bring a guest, their employer we asked, or someone they worked with. And we went behind the scenes at police services. Then we went through Waterloo Region Courts. And then we had a session on restorative justice with Chris Cowie from Community Justice Initiatives, and then on to Grand Valley Institute for Women for a tour. So this not only gave you the opportunity to see the different leadership styles, meet the leaders in our community who work these systems, but really see if this is an area of passion for you. So we try to expose our class to different community issues, to different organizations, so that we can maybe spark a passion, and that might be an area you would like to volunteer in. So we had a day at the Islamic Center of Cambridge, was fantastic. When we talk about diversity, we want to be there. We don't want a speaker in for an hour. So we were able to have a full day, and our friends from the Coalition of Muslim Women came in and did a tea and tales for us. So our room was set up from 8 different countries. We had a woman come in from the coalition, from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Turkey, I know I'm missing a whole bunch of them, Pakistan, India, and set up a table with tea from their country, treats from their country, and then all sorts of information. So we got to learn about, what does a Muslim religion look like when you come to Canada, and how is their experience as new Canadians, which is such a big part of our population, new Canadians, that we want to make sure we're able to learn more about that firsthand. So you're going to be in community, you're going to have sessions at places like the House of Friendship, you're going to have speakers come in from agencies, we're going to experience the community together. The fourth part is a project. So previously we had broken the class up into smaller groups and taken on projects within not-for-profits in the community. And although really excellent work was done, we just couldn't guarantee the experience. We couldn't say you will learn systems mapping and design thinking, and you will have the chance to prototype an idea. We weren't able to give that level of guarantee and make sure everyone had the same experience. So last year we formed a partnership with the Waterloo Institute for Social Innovation and Resilience at the University of Waterloo. And they're a social innovation lab. So in the mathematical sense, they take on wicked problems. So community issues that don't have a solution. Neither the University of Waterloo or Leadership Waterloo Region is in the business of identifying issues, but Wellbeing Waterloo Region really has a handle on that. So we brought in a third partner, and our class is working on the affordable housing project. And you will have an opportunity in the breakout groups to ask them more about their experience with the project. But we've worked as a cohort on one project. It will be a multi-year project. Next year, we will also be working on affordable housing. And our class has really done a lot of work to identify who works in this area, what resources are available in the community, and what the needs are. So they are working now on their final pitches for recommendations that will go back to Wellbeing Waterloo Region. Next slide, please. So this impact. Is there any questions so far? Because I'm happy to take questions at any time. So the most impactful thing, and you know, Tonya mentioned it, and Caitlin, and I know as an alumnus, it truly is that network, the network of individuals. If you have an issue, if you need to recruit, if you're looking for advice, you have this natural group of people. And we really try to keep our alumni engaged. We do that through events. We do that through, we're launching our Visionary Speaker Series. So on October 22nd, His Excellency David Johnson is scheduled to come and do a talk on building trust in communities based around his book, Trust. And it's a way for us to identify issues in the community, bring someone in to talk about it, and do a call for action. Now, we're looking at what does that look like? You know, with COVID, we have to be flexible. So it may be postponed, it may not be in person, but we're looking at that. So when we look at ways to involve our alumni, we're actually launching a new learning program with Flip University. So Flip University is headed up by Mark and Sam Hurwitz. Mark is a neuroscience at the University of Waterloo who specializes in leadership, and Sam is the Chief Opportunities Officer for Flip University. And they have very high quality courses online. So it's a 12-week course. People would sign up for leadership or followership. There's 4 in total. Bethan, maybe you can help me out with the last 2. I'm putting her on the spot. There's 4 courses in total, but what it will look like is alumni will have the opportunity to sign up for these courses. We will run it much like the Leadership Waterloo Region program, where they can meet in person. I'll be a coach along the way online. There's a real social component. Halfway throughout the program, we're going to go on a community tour that's reflective of the course, and then we'll meet up at the end. And there will be opportunity for these learning groups to actually work with our current classes. So it's an exciting way for alumni to stay engaged. I could see you got your Beth on, or your mic on.
So the 4 courses are leadership, followership, decision making, and emotional intelligence.
Excellent. So we've been concentrating on the first 2, leadership and followership. So that will take us through our first year. So we were to launch that at our May breakfast, but of course we weren't able to have our breakfast. So we will be launching that in the fall. So what's the core program look like? Well, it runs on the school year, September to June. We generally, traditionally have gone away for an opening retreat where we take you away in September. And that's obviously not going to happen this year. So we're planning on having a closing retreat. So we'll be able to take folks away at the end of the program. There's 9 full leadership days, generally the 3rd Thursday of each month. You receive your agenda and schedule. And we also have an orientation in late August. Graduation is in mid-June. And again, for this year's class, we're talking about postponing it till we can all get together, but it's definitely a celebration of your efforts. There is additional class time required to prepare for your leadership days. So the old saying, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. We do have pre-reading often. There's some textbooks, and often our speakers will say, can you please have the class read this? On top of that, there's also the core program, and I'll let you speak with the classmates in the breakout to ask what kind of time commitment that is. But we say generally it's about 3 to 4 hours a month on outside of the classroom time. So could the next slide, please? So the tuition is $4,700 for the program. There's a $100 application fee, and it covers everything you need. We may take you on a bus. We feed you really well when we're in person. There's textbooks. There's all sorts of things. One thing I can't stress enough is if you cannot pay that out of your own pocket, or it's not in your workplace budget, please don't let that stop you from applying. Apply for a bursary. I myself, I worked at United Way when I went through the program, and I had a $300 budget a year for development. So I did apply for a bursary and was successful. So there are opportunities, whether it's partial or full, where we can help find funding. Traditionally, we fundraise throughout the year for that. This year's been a little bit different for COVID, but we do have some bursary dollars available. So Bethan, do you need time to break it out? We have 3 of our classmates here. And this is the best part about my job, is being able to work with such amazing people and get to know them on a friendship level when they come into the program. So Rob, Louise, and Russ are coming from 3 very different workplaces. They are bringing their own experience into the program, their own their curiosity and their humor. So what we're going to do is break out into 3 groups for 10 minutes, and please feel free to ask any questions that you may. Does that sound fair? Okay. That should just take a moment. And we're all back. Excellent. I just wanted to, I was just going to address a question that Sarah Martin had to Russ Parnell, who's one of our participants. And the question was, do you think the experience would have been the same if you had started out on Zoom? Did I capture that correctly, Sarah? And just to tell you what the plans are for next year, we feel we can be very successful at the relationship building portion through Zoom, knowing that throughout the year, we will be able to start more the in-person. So what that looks like, again, we don't know. We can't say in February is when we're going to start the community work where we'll all get together. We can't say that for sure, but the plan is that in the new year, we will be doing more of the experiential, the in-community work, as public health opens up and allows us to do so. So we'll deliver on everything we say we can deliver on. but it's just the order will be different given the community circumstances.
Thank
I don't know
you.
if you had anything to offer, Beth, and you're welcome to as well. Sorry, Sarah?
Oh, I just said thank you for answering that.
Okay, so how do you apply for the program? So we have a link which you will be receiving for registering. There's an application form, an employer commitment declaration. I know that there was probably questions, there was in our group, about how much time commitment that is, and we need to know your employer's on board. If you're requesting a bursary, there's a separate bursary application. We also need an updated copy of your resume and a letter of support. And that doesn't have to be from your employer, that can be from anyone who you would like to speak about you. The deadline for application is June 30th. And as we receive, we'll be setting up our selection committee interviews. So the last 2 weeks of June, first week of July will be the interviews through Zoom. And when you're interviewed, it's generally by 2 community members. I think they're all alumni except for 1 this year. So that's really exciting that, you know, our alumni come back. And again, the process isn't to weed people out. The process is to make sure that you have all the information you need and that's a good fit for you. So it's not about an age, it's about a stage in your life. Are you ready to take on this commitment? Are you at a curiosity level where you're ready to do that? One thing I wanted to point out with Zoom, because I know we're all on Zoom a lot, we've actually been able to get speakers into the program and into the nonprofit leadership series that we would not have access to. Bethan reached out to Cormac Russell, and Cormac is really well known in asset-based community development. He runs out of Ireland, and just the ticket to have him come, we wouldn't have been able to pay that. And when we reached out, he said, of course, I'd love to help your community. And so we've been able to benefit from some speakers that normally we wouldn't have access to. So just saying that. If there's any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm just reading here. Okay, is there a maximum class size? We're looking this year at a class size of about 26. And again, that's because of the project work that is done with the University of Waterloo, saying that we've had, this year we have a class of 19, and in the past they've had classes up to 32. So there is some flexibility there, but again, because we have this additional partner, they're helping to guide the class size. So 26 is sort of the optimum or maximum number that we would facilitate. Any other questions, Bethan?
So I think it just might be important to note that if you're applying through your employer, just to check in with them to make sure that there isn't an internal process, because I know that folks like the Region of Waterloo, for instance, have an internal application process that they go through. So I would just check in with them before you go through all of the application process. Now, having said that, you know, checking out the core program key dates and chatting with Diane to get a more in-depth understanding of what to expect and to address your initial questions before you go through that process is obviously a great idea, but just to be cognizant of that you might be entering into your own internal process before it even gets to our selection process.
Thank you for that. And I'm also happy to meet, like if your employer has any questions, they can reach out to me or connect us, and I'll answer any questions they may have. Is there any further questions? Please feel free to follow up with me directly if I can be of any assistance or connect you with anybody that could help answer further questions. We talked about the nonprofit leadership series, and Russ talked about in our group about the Finding Your Why book by Simon Sinek, and that was our first textbook of the year. And we've actually have Stephen Shedletsky coming in who is head of brand experience and an igniter with Simon Sinek Incorporated. So he's doing a session on Friday. There is a little bit of pre-reading, and it's The Infinite Game is what the book is called that the session is based on. So there is a little bit of pre-reading. It'll be a fantastic session. And again, please, it's free to attend. So that information will also be in the follow-up email. And you can share that with your colleagues. Okay, that's all for me. If there's no further questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you to our classmates and alumni for giving your lunch hour up to come and speak with us. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.